So right now we have three sort of large-scale excavations going on. We've got, of course, the Custis Square excavation, which we've been doing for almost 3 years now, and have 2 more years in the project, focusing on a 4-acre block on the outskirts of Williamsburg historic downtown, and trying to understand an early 18th century garden and landscape around the main house owned by John Custis IV, who's a very wealthy planter and businessman, and one of the earliest large-scale landscape gardeners in Virginia. So we're very excited. We're getting along in that project. I mean, 3 years in, we should have found something, and we've really started to explore, or finally digging into the garden features itself, and really getting into specifically what plants are where and how the place was laid out, the landscape was laid out. And the next project, the project that we're working on, is the First Baptist Church project. This is a very, very exciting, very high profile, the highest profile project I've ever been affiliated with, looking at the original location in town of the First Baptist Church, a mostly African American Black church in Williamsburg. It was founded in 1775, but first moves into town sometime in the first decade or so of the 19th century. And we've sort of found the foundations of the original building, that was the first building that was given specifically to the church as a place of worship, and also are starting to understand the boundaries. There's a large graveyard affiliated with that church that we're starting to understand the boundaries of. This project has been great. We've been able to work with the modern First Baptist Church community, and has been really been able to do really community-based archaeology. And once again, it's been very exciting to get people coming up to us and talking about how much they really enjoy what we're doing, and it's not not just something that we happen to be doing, but is something that is having a real meaningful effect, a positive effect for at least a large member of Williamsburg's community. And then the last project that we're working on, that we've been working on for about 7-8 months now, and we'll work on for another couple months, is the magazine. So Williamsburg's Powder Magazine is a weird little building in the middle of town, octagon, built in about 1715. It was the location of the gunpowder incident, of course, where Lord Dunmore took out the powder belonging to Williamsburg's, some of local people in Williamsburg, causing them to get very mad at him, causing him to flee. As part of the 250th anniversary of the gunpowder incident, we plan on reconstructing the building to look much more like it did. It was heavily reconstructed in the 1890s following a pretty major structural collapse. And so as part of that, we're getting to dig right around the base of the magazine for the first time ever. Archaeology has been done sort of associated with that building. And we've been finding really cool, lots and lots of features, and particularly one of the great, usually when we work with architectural historians, we say a bunch of things that they don't really care about, but we found stuff right away that they were super excited about, clay roofing tiles, all sorts of stuff affiliated with the building that will really affect how it will be reconstructed and how it will be reinterpreted by the historical interpreters who work there. Yes, so we're planning on wrapping up the magazine sometime this summer. We hope. That one we sort of have to say what we can say, and then hand it over to the architectural historians. We're hoping to finish up the First Baptist project sometime by the end of the year, though that may continue, at least in terms of understanding the building and the built environment of that lot. Understanding the graveyard's going to take a lot longer, and we're sort of basing that project on what the community wants, in terms of what do they want reconstructed, what do they were sort of providing them with the information, and then letting them decide how they want us to proceed. It's gone a little bit quicker. So we've just actually finished. We had opened up the original foundation. We had it all exposed, excavated all of the layers, the intact layers. It was heavily damaged by previous archaeology out there. But all the intact layers that were left, we've looked at, we've documented, we've photographed, we've gotten all the various points on, and we were just backfilling it to try to protect it. It's starting to really fall apart. It's sort of perched on the edge of a bit of a ravine, so it's not the most stable foundation that's ever been. So now we're sort of working further back. We still haven't fully understand the boundaries of the lot. So that's sort of our next step, is to understand, where exactly would the property or the lot have extended to that was owned by the church, and was used by the church, and whether those were the same things or not. And that's sort of our next step to understand. So actually, we are going to focus for the most part on the portion of the lot right near the church. It seems to be the main part where any sort of burials are, where the landscape, and which was owned by the church for the majority of its, majority of the time it was there on that location. We will actually be going back to the late 17th, early 18th century structure on the other side of the lot, because that's where the plan is to move the Bray School. So we identified the original Bray School building, but of course it can't go back to where it originally was, because that is a dormitory, brown dormitory at William & Mary now. So the decision was made to put it right there on that lot. So before they do that, the architectural historians are fairly certain there was a cellar associated with that building, and so they want to reconstruct a cellar. So that means we got to get in there and dig it out, which is great, because then we get to dig that cool early building, which we just sort of looked at a little bit. And was also probably affiliated, it was certainly owned by Custis as one of his rental properties. We found a John Custis wine bottle seal there, so that proves we got the connection right there. So it really sort of ties all of these archaeology projects that we're working on together in one place. A cool project on the horizon, as I've sort of mentioned a couple times, is the Bray School. We're hoping this summer to go back with William and Mary, the field school, this summer, and sort of finish up the last couple. There's been excavations earlier at Brown Hall, trying to understand the location of the Bray School building itself. Bray School is one of the earliest schools founded in colonies for the education of Black and African American and enslaved children. It operated for only about 5 years in the first location that it was, which is now totally demolished by the dormitory, but presumably would have had some outbuildings associated with it that still have some surviving elements of them. So we just need to go back and look at a couple other areas that may potentially have had some buildings, some activity areas, that sort of stuff. And then be able to represent that as the building is moved onto Colonial Williamsburg's property, and we begin to interpret it and talk about it and show people what that building was and what that meant to people at the time, both enslaved and free, in Williamsburg. And of course, in conjunction with William and Mary and lots of other, partners in the community and in the broader academic society who looked into the Bray School. It's a very, very another very collaborative project, just one piece of a much larger whole.